Hey everyone, I'm going to do a Dog's Purpose part 27. Yeah, part 27. I uploaded 26 just now, so here we go. I pickled a neutral spot on the floor between the two of them and lay down with a sigh, unable to figure out what was going to happen. 2 weeks, but Maya trailed off. But Jacob prompted, I'm thinking of resigning from the program, Maya confessed in a rush. I just can't keep up. I didn't realize, someone else would probably be better. You can't do that, Jacob said. I raised my head and looked at him curiously, wondering why he was feeling angry. You can't keep switching handlers on a dog. Ellie is the best dog anyone has ever seen. You dump her like that, you could ruin her. Wally says the two of you have a rapport. I thought my tail a little at my name on Wally's being mentioned by Jacob, but his tone was still very stern. I'm just not cut for it physically, Jacob, Maya said. Ugh, too many pages. I could feel anger stirring her too. I'm not an ex-Marine. I'm just a beat cop who can barely pass the physical every year. I've been trying, but it's just too hard. Too hard? Jacob glared at her until Maya shrugged and looked away. Her anger turned to shame, and I went over to her to nuzzle her hand. What about how hard it would be on Ellie? Doesn't that matter? Of course it matters. You're saying you're not willing to work. I'm saying I'm not cut out for this, Jacob. I don't have what it takes inside. What it takes inside. I could sense that Maya was grappling with this rising tide of emotion that sometimes led to a flood of tears. I wanted to comfort her and shove my nose under her hand again. When Jacob spoke again, he wasn't looking at Maya, and his voice was quieter. When I was shot the first time, my shoulders were so messed up, I had to learn to use it all over again. I went to physical therapy every day, and there was still this little 2-pound weight on a pole, and that thing hurt. My wife was in her final round of chemo. More than once I wanted to give up. It was too hard. Jacob turned his head and blinked at Maya. But Susan was dying and she never gave up. Not until the very end. And if she could keep going, I knew I had to. Because it's important. Because failure isn't an option. It's success. It's just a matter of more effort. I know it's difficult, Maya. Try harder. The same old dark pain swirled around inside Jacob like a storm, and the anger left him as if blown away by a gust of wind. He sagged in his chair, suddenly exhausted. Somehow I knew then that I wouldn't be staying with Jacob. He just wasn't interested in finding anyone. Sadness was flowing through Maya, but though I felt a rising resolve, a strength like what came over her the day she took me running along the ocean. Okay, you're right, she told Jacob. Jacob had my head when we left, saying goodbye without regret. The last glimpse I had of him was as he shut the door, and he wasn't looking at me. He and Maya had decided my fate, and it was up to me to do what they wanted. Later, Maya and I drove up into the hill. She ran until she was tired. She stumbled, and the next day after work she ran some more. It was gloriously fun, except that Maya often felt full of despair and pain by the end of the course. A few evenings later, she pulled into the driveway, and Maya was literally too tired to get out of the car. We sat there, sweat running from her face, with the windows open. I'm going to fail, Ellie. I'm so sorry, Maya said mournfully. I could feel Emmett and Stella both watching from the window. They probably didn't even know what a car was. Tinkerbell, I assume, had become alert at the sound of our approach and was cowering under something. Are you okay, Maya? Al asked softly. The wind was working against me, so I hadn't smelled this approach. I put my head out the window for him to pet. Oh, hi, Al. She stood out of the car. Yes, I was just thinking. Oh, I saw you pull up in your car. Yes. So can I come over to see if you need any help? No, I was just running with the dog. I slid out the front seat and scurried in the yard, staring pointedly at Emma and Stella, who looked away in disgust. Oh, okay. Al drew in a deep breath. You've lost weight, Maya. What? Maya stared at him. Al recorded in horror. Not that you were fat. I just noticed in your shorts your legs look so thin. A gust of mist flowed off of him and he was backing away. I should go. Thank you, Al. That was sweet, Maya said. He rested his retreat and stood up straight. In my opinion, you don't need to exercise anymore. You are perfect the way you are. Maya laughed at this, and then Al laughed. I wagged my tail to show the cats at the window that I understood the joke, and they didn't. A week or so later, Maya and I did one of my favorite things, which was to go to the park with a lot of other dogs and work on the toys. At her command, I crawled into the tight tube and up and down the tippy board. I climbed slowly down a ladder and demonstrated that I could sit patiently on a narrow beam 2 feet of the ground, all the while ignoring the other dogs. Our find consisted of locating a man who had dropped some old socks on as he blew off into the woods. Maya was bursting with ingenious. I do not know what that word is. Anywho, so I went at it full speed, even when she began to huff and sweat. I knew he was high in a tree even before I found him, because Wally had tried that on me a few times, and it always affected the way the human scent drifted on the wind. Maya was a little mischievous, though, that I was looking at the base of the tree when clearly the man wasn't standing there. I sat patiently staring up at the gray man until she got it. That night there was a big party at Mama's house. Everyone was petting me and saying my name. Now that you are certified, you need eat, Mama told Maya. The doorbell rang, which hardly ever happened at that house. People usually just burst in. I followed Mama to the door, and when she opened it, Mama's heart soared. It was Al, and he gave some flowers to Mama. I remember Ethan giving Hannah flowers, and I was confused because I thought Al liked Maya, not Mama. But I never really understood people when it comes to stuff like this. The whole family grew quiet when Al stepped into the backyard when the picnic table was set up. Maya went over to Al, and they both felt nervous as they briefly pressed his mouth to her face. Then Maya said everyone's name, and Al shook hands with the men, and everyone started talking and laughing again. Over the next several days, we found and saved 2 children who had wandered away from their houses, plus backtracked a horse's path to find a woman who had been fallen off and hurt her leg. I remember Flo dumping Ethan in the woods and wondered why people even bothered to own horses, since they were obviously unbearable. If people had a dog or 2 and were still not satisfied, they should probably consider getting a donkey, just like Jasper the donkey, who at least made Grandpa laugh. Maya and I also found an old man in the woods who was dead. I was depressed to sniff out his cold body lying in the dirt, because that wasn't saving people, and though Maya praised me, neither of us was much interested in playing with the stick afterward. We went to Al's house, and he served Maya a chicken dinner, and they both laughed and then ate pizza a boy brought over. I snuffed at the kitchen pieces Al put on the floor for me and ate them more out of the pointlessness than anything, since they were so encrusted with what tasted like soot. Yeah. Sorry, my nose is a little bit bugging me. Anywho, later that evening I could tell she was telling him about the dead man, because her feeling of sadness was the same. Jacob and I had found a few dead people too, but it never made him sad, the same way that finding people and saving them never really seemed to make him glad. He just did the work, not feeling much one way or the other. When I thought about Jacob, I realized that his cold delusion to find helped me get over my separation from Ethan. There was no time for grieving. I had too much work to do. My thought was more complex, and the way she loved me made me miss my boy. Not with the same sharp, painful ache in my chest, but with a wistful sadness that often came to me as I was lying down for the night and rode with me into my dreams. One day Maya and I took a plane ride and then a chopper ride straight south. I thought about the day Jacob was taken away and was glad I was back to being a chopper dog. She was both excited and uneasy on the flight, which wasn't frankly nearly as much fun as a car ride because the noise hurt my ears. We laughed in a place unlike any I'd ever seen to before. There were lots of dogs and policemen, and the air was filled with the sound of sirens and the smell of smoke. Buildings everywhere were in a state of collapse. The roof sometimes all the way on the ground. Maya seemed stunned, and I pressed up against her, yawning, anxious. A man approached us. He was dirty and wore a plastic helmet. His hands, when he held them to me, smelled of ashes, blood, and clay. He shook hands with Maya. I'm quartering the U.S. response in the sector. Thanks for coming down. I had no idea it was going to be this bad, Maya said. Oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The El Salvador government is completely overwhelmed. We've got more than 4,000 people injured, hundreds dead, and we're still finding folks trapped. We've been more than a half dozen aftershocks since January 13th, some of them pretty bad. Be careful going in these places. Maya put me on a leash and led me through the maze of rubble. We've come to a house, and some men who were following us would check it, and then sometimes Maya would let me off the leash, and I'd go in, and sometimes she'd keep me on the leash and would just find along the outside of the house. This one's not safe, Ellie. I have to keep you on a leash so you don't go in there, Maya told me. One of the men was named Vernon, and he smelled like goats. Reminded me of the trips to town with Ethan and Grandpa. It was one of the rare times I thought of Ethan while working. Doing fine meant putting all that away and concentrating on the job. Over the next several hours, Maya and I found 4 people. They were all dead, and excitement over finding soured after the second one. By the time I came across the 4th person, a young woman lying beneath a jumble of bricks, I almost didn't alert Maya. She sensed my mood and tried to reassure me, petting me, and waved the rubber bone at me, in which I had very little interest. Vernon, would you do me a favor and go hide somewhere? She asked. I lay down tired at her feet. Hide? He asked uncertainly. She needs to find someone alive. Would you go hide, like over in that house we just searched, and when she locates you, act outside? Oh, yeah, okay. I resigned Vermon's department without interest. Okay, Ellie, ready? Ready to find? I wearily rose to my feet. Let's go, Ellie, Maya said. Her excitement seemed faded, but I strode over to a house we'd already searched. Find, Ellie commanded. I went into the... There's a typo here. It says we already searched. Find, Ellie commanded. I think that should say Maya commanded. It's been a while since I read a book with that kind of typo. Anywho, I went into the house and stopped puzzled. Though we all been in here already, I thought Vermon's smell was somehow more intense. Curious, I padded to the back of the house. Yes, there was a pile of blankets in the corner, from which came to a strong Vermin scent, full of sweet and heat and goat. I raced back to Maya. Show, she urged. She followed me at a run, and when she peeled back the blankets, Vermin leaped up, laughing. You found me! Good dog, Ellie! He shouted, rolling on the blankets with me. I jumped on him and licked his face, and we played with the rubber bone for a while. Maya and I worked all night, and we found more people including Vermin, who became better and better at hiding. But I would with Wally, so no one could fool me for very long. Everyone else Ryan and I found was dead. The sun was coming up, and when we came to a building from which smoke still rose.